If you want to know how quickly a family can turn into a pack of starving wolves, wait until you refuse to feed them. On a freezing Friday morning, while I was zipping my leather garment bag for an international business trip to London, my phone screen lit up with my brother Julian's name. I didn't even have time to say hello before his voice cut through the speaker, dripping with that greasy, unearned confidence he had used his entire life. "The kids are on their way to you," Julian said, his tone casual, like he was telling me he had ordered a pizza. "I booked them a ride. They will be at your place in 20 minutes. Don't start your usual drama. Vanessa and I have a flight to catch." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't get angry. I had spent the last 7 years in corporate asset recovery and high-stakes negotiation. I knew exactly how to talk to a hostage-taker who didn't realize his gun was empty. "Do not send your children to my address, Julian," I said, keeping my voice flat, steady, and utterly cold. "I am not going to be there. I am leaving for the airport in 10 minutes. If they show up, they will be standing on a locked porch in a sleet storm. Do you understand me?" He laughed. It was that short, dismissive bark he used whenever he wanted to pretend my boundaries were just a temporary temper tantrum. "Stop acting like a selfish bastard, Marcus," he sneered. "They are 9 years old. They can sit on the porch for an hour if you want to play games. You will open the door. You always do." Then he hung up. What my brother did not know, what he had refused to learn because he was too busy viewing me as a free utility service, was that I had sold that house 6 months ago. I had packed up, signed the deed over to a new owner, and moved into a high-security downtown loft with a key-card elevator and a private garage. Julian still believed I was the same quiet, guilt-ridden younger brother living in the suburban house our grandfather built, waiting to be bullied into submission. He believed his wealth, his charm, and his loud voice could bend reality to his will. But the person living at my old address now was not me. And when those 2 cold, frightened children stepped out of a car at the wrong house in the middle of a November storm, a single phone call started a chain reaction that Julian never saw coming. Before I lay out the wreckage of what happened when that call reached the authorities, let me ask you a direct question. What time is it where you are right now? And where are you reading this from? I want to know how far this warning travels, because somewhere out there, another family scapegoat is currently packing their bags, wondering if they finally have the right to say no. I am here to tell you that you do. My flight to London Heathrow was scheduled for 1 in the afternoon. This was not a casual business trip. It was a final negotiation to secure a multi-million-dollar restructuring deal for an international shipping firm. The 3 executives waiting for me in the United Kingdom did not care about family emergencies, emotional manipulation, or a brother who thought parenting was a task you could outsource to an unpaid relative. My entire career was built on evaluating risk, identifying toxic liabilities, and cutting them out before they dragged the entire enterprise into bankruptcy. Unfortunately, the most dangerous liability in my life had always shared my last name. Julian was 37 years old. He was a master of the first impression. To strangers, he was an energetic entrepreneur, always on the verge of a massive breakthrough. To those who knew him, he was a bottomless pit of debt, excuses, and manufactured crises. His wife Vanessa was his perfect match, a woman who would rather starve in a designer coat than admit they were drowning in unpaid bills. Together, they had spent the last decade treating everyone around them as stepping stones. Their 9-year-old twins, Toby and Chloe, were the real casualties. They were quiet, anxious kids who had spent their entire childhoods learning how to navigate their father's sudden mood swings and their mother's icy neglect. That morning, Julian and Vanessa wanted a 4-day escape to a luxury wellness retreat in Aspen. They had booked the tickets on a credit card that was likely already over its limit, and they expected me to absorb the physical and emotional cost of their freedom. I had warned him in writing. 3 days before, I had opened our family group chat and posted a clear, unambiguous notice. I am traveling to London on Friday morning. I will be out of the country for a week. Furthermore, as previously stated, I no longer reside at the Oak Street property. Under no circumstances should the children be sent there. I am unavailable to watch them. My mother, Evelyn, had been the first to reply. "Marcus, don't be so dramatic. Family is more important than another business meeting. Your brother has been under so much stress lately. Help him out." My father, Arthur, followed up minutes later. "You have always been cold, Marcus. Don't punish your niece and nephew just because you want to prove a point to your brother. Grow up." Then Julian had sent a single thumbs-up emoji followed by, "See you Friday, little bro." They didn't believe me. To them, my words were just a negotiation tactic. They believed that if they pushed hard enough, if they ignored my boundaries completely, I would cave. I always had. When Julian lost $20,000 in a bad real estate scheme, I paid his rent so the kids wouldn't get evicted. When Vanessa crashed her SUV without insurance, I bought her a reliable sedan so she could drive Toby and Chloe to school. But there is a limit to how much poison a person can drink before they realize they are holding the cup themselves. The turning point had come during the previous Thanksgiving. I had traveled out of town for a 3-day conference. Julian, knowing I was away, used an emergency spare key my parents had stolen from my kitchen counter months earlier. He hosted a high-stakes poker game in my home for 10 of his business associates. When I returned, the hardwood floor in my dining room was scarred with cigarette burns. An antique mahogany table passed down from my grandmother was ruined by wet glasses. My guest bathroom mirror was shattered, and someone had vomited in the hallway closet. When I confronted my father about it, he shrugged. Julian needed a place to impress some potential investors, Marcus. You have the nice house. Why are you being so materialistic? It is just wood and glass. That was the day the younger brother they knew died. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I quietly contacted a high-end real estate agent, put the house on the market, and sold it within 4 weeks to a retired industrial safety inspector named Garrick Sterling. Garrick was 55, spent 30 years managing safety protocols for heavy manufacturing plants, and had the demeanor of a locked vault. He wanted a quiet property with privacy, and the first thing he did after taking possession was install a commercial-grade steel security gate, high-definition cameras, and a deadbolt system that required a rolling digital code. I moved into my downtown loft, changed my number to a private line shared only with my office and my legal counsel, and left my old life behind. I didn't tell my parents. I didn't tell Julian. I let them believe I was still sitting in the suburban house, waiting for their next emergency. At 11 in the morning on Friday, as my hired car pulled onto the highway toward Logan International Airport, Julian posted a photo in the family chat. He and Vanessa were holding champagne flutes in an airport lounge, wearing cashmere sweaters. The caption read, "And we are off. Thanks to Uncle Marcus for taking the kids for the weekend. Real family always comes through." He was setting the trap. He wanted to establish a public record that I had agreed to watch the twins. If anything went wrong, he could point to that post and say, "Look, he promised he would be there. He let us down." It was a classic move designed to weaponize social pressure and family guilt. I took a deep breath, took a screenshot of the post, and forwarded it directly to my personal attorney, Rachel Cole. "Keep this on file," I typed. "The storm is about to hit." At approximately 4 in the afternoon, the temperature in Boston plummeted and a freezing sleet began to coat the roads. According to the statement the rideshare driver later gave to the police, Julian had loaded Toby and Chloe into the back of his mid-sized sedan outside their rented townhouse. He had handed Toby a single backpack containing a change of clothes and a bag of cheap snacks. Chloe was crying because she had forgotten her favorite stuffed toy, but Vanessa had snapped at her to shut up and get in the car. The driver asked if anyone was home at the destination. Julian had smiled his $1 million smile and said, "Of course, my brother is waiting for them. Just drop them at the gate. He likes to play games, so if the gate is locked, just have them ring the bell until he comes down." The driver, assuming he was dealing with a normal father, drove 40 minutes through the worsening sleet and pulled up to the curb outside my old house at 4:45. The street was dark. The trees were heavy with ice. The house, which used to be painted a warm cream color, was now a dark gray. The welcoming wooden gate had been replaced by Garrick Sterling's heavy black steel barrier. Toby and Chloe got out of the car, dragging their small suitcases. The rideshare driver, seeing the dark windows, hesitated. "Are you kids sure someone is home?" he asked. "My dad said Uncle Marcus is inside," Toby said, though his voice was barely a whisper. The driver, eager to get off the icy roads and finish his shift, nodded, closed the trunk, and pulled away. The 2 9-year-old children stood on the icy pavement, shivering as the freezing rain soaked through their thin jackets. They walked up to the steel gate and pushed the intercom button. Inside the house, Garrick Sterling was sitting in his kitchen, drinking a cup of black coffee and reviewing his property tax assessment. Suddenly, his security monitor chimed. He looked at the screen and saw two small figures standing in the freezing sleet, huddled together under a single cheap umbrella. Garrick did not hesitate. He put on a heavy winter coat, walked down the long driveway, and opened the security gate. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice deep and stern, but not unkind. Toby looked up, his face pale and wet. "We are looking for Uncle Marcus," the boy said. "Our dad said he lives here." Garrick's eyes narrowed. He remembered my name from the deed transfer. He knew I had sold him the house 6 months ago, and he knew I had moved downtown. He also knew that no responsible adult leaves 2 children on a stranger's doorstep in a winter storm. "Who is your dad?" Garrick asked. "Julian Vance," Chloe sobbed, her teeth chattering violently. Garrick looked at the kids, then looked down the empty, dark street. There was no car waiting. There was no adult in sight. "Come inside," Garrick said, stepping aside. "Right now." He brought them into the warm kitchen, wrapped them in dry wool blankets, and gave them cups of warm tea. Then, being a man who had spent 3 decades enforcing safety regulations and dealing with corporate liability, he did exactly what any logical citizen would do. He did not call me. He did not try to track down Julian. He called 911. "This is Garrick Sterling at 42 Oak Street," he told the dispatcher. "I have 2 abandoned children at my residence. Their parents dropped them off at a private gate in a sleet storm and left the area. The children are shivering and show signs of mild hypothermia. I need police and medical services at this location immediately." By the time my flight landed at London Heathrow the following morning, the situation had escalated far beyond a family dispute. I turned on my phone as I walked through the jet bridge, and the device instantly began to vibrate so rapidly it felt like it would shake itself apart. There were 42 missed calls from my mother, 18 from my father, and over 50 text messages from Julian and Vanessa. I ignored them all. I opened my email first. There was a message from Rachel Cole, my attorney, sent at 3 a.m. Boston time. "Marcus, the police were called to your old address last night. Your brother and his wife have been detained. The police contacted me because your name was mentioned by the children. I have already provided the police with the deed of sale for the Oak Street property, your flight itinerary, and the screenshots of the family group chat where you explicitly warned them not to send the children. Do not speak to anyone in your family. Let me handle the communication." I felt a cold wave of relief, followed closely by a deep, aching anger. Julian had actually done it. He had risked his own children's lives to save a few $100s on a babysitter and prove that he could break my will. He had left Toby and Chloe in the freezing rain on the off chance that I would miraculously appear and take care of his responsibilities. I walked into the arrivals terminal, found a quiet coffee shop, and dialed Rachel's direct line. She answered on the first ring. "Marcus," she said, her voice sharp and professional. "How was your flight?" "I'm in London," I said. "Tell me exactly what is happening." "Your brother and Vanessa were arrested at the airport in Denver during their layover," Rachel said. "The Boston police issued an emergency warrant for child abandonment and reckless endangerment. The rideshare driver was tracked down. He confirmed that Julian instructed him to leave the children at the gate, regardless of whether anyone answered. Furthermore, Mr. Sterling, provided his security footage. The cameras recorded the entire conversation, including the kids shivering in the sleet for 10 minutes before he brought them inside." "Where are Toby and Chloe?" I asked, my chest tightening. "They are currently in the custody of Child Protective Services," Rachel said. "They are safe, dry, and staying at a temporary foster home. The state has already opened an investigation. Because of the evidence I provided, the text warnings, the deed, the flight tickets, the state attorney realizes this was not a misunderstanding. It was a deliberate, documented act of abandonment." "What about my parents?" Rachel let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Your father called my office, screaming at 4 a.m. He threatened to sue me, he threatened to sue you, and he demanded we tell the police that you had agreed to watch the kids but got your dates confused. I told him that if he contacted my office with those demands again, I would report him for witness tampering. They are desperate, Marcus. They know Julian is facing real jail time." "Let them burn," I said quietly. "Good.
Rachel replied. "Keep that attitude. I am going to represent your interests at the preliminary custody hearing on Monday. You need to focus on your business in London.
Don't let them ruin your career along with their own lives." I hung up, took a deep breath, and walked out into the gray London morning. For the next 2 days, I locked myself in a glass conference room in the city's financial district. I worked 14 hours a day, dissecting the shipping company's debt structure, identifying redundant assets, and presenting a clean, brutal recovery plan to the board of directors. When the executives asked questions, I answered with hard data. When they tried to appeal to tradition or sentiment, I shut them down with financial reality. I was operating at peak efficiency because I had finally learned how to apply the same cold logic to my personal life. Every time my phone buzzed with an unknown number, I knew it was my family trying to reach me. On Sunday night, my mother managed to call me from a different number. I made the mistake of answering, thinking it was the hotel front desk. "Marcus," she sobbed the moment she heard my voice. "Thank God." "You have to stop this madness. Your brother is sitting in a holding cell in Colorado. They won't release him without a $50,000 cash bond, and Vanessa is hysterical. The police are treating them like criminals." "They are criminals, Mother," I said, my voice dead of emotion. "They left 2 9-year-old children in a freezing sleet storm on a stranger's property. They committed a felony." "It was a mistake," she screamed, her voice losing all its sweet maternal pretense. "You made them do this by being so stubborn. If you had just stayed at your house like a normal person, none of this would have happened. You sold that house just to spite us." "I sold my house because Julian held a poker game in my living room and ruined my property," I said. "And I don't owe you, or him, or anyone else my life. Do not call this number again. Marcus, if you don't help your brother, you are no son of mine," she yelled. "Then we finally agree on something," I said, and ended the call. I immediately blocked the new number, sat down at my desk, and went back to work. When I landed back in Boston on Monday afternoon, the air was crisp and dry. I didn't go to my loft. I took a taxi straight to the family court building downtown. Rachel Cole met me in the hallway. She was wearing a tailored charcoal suit and carrying a thick leather folder. "The hearing is in 20 minutes, she said. "Your parents are already inside. They brought a private attorney, but from what I've gathered, they paid him with a credit card that is about to bounce. Julian and Vanessa are appearing via video link from the county jail. They were extradited back to Massachusetts over the weekend." "What is the plan?" I asked. "The state is seeking temporary custody of Toby and Chloe," Rachel explained. "Your parents have filed an emergency petition for kinship custody. They want to take the children to their house." "But we have a wild card, Marcus. Are you ready to play it?" I looked at the heavy oak doors of the courtroom. "I've been waiting for this for 2 years, I said. When we entered the courtroom, the atmosphere was suffocating. My mother was sitting in the front row of the spectator gallery, dressed in her finest black wool coat, holding a tissue to her eyes. My father sat next to her, his posture rigid, his jaw clenched so hard his temple veins were bulging. When he saw me walk in, he stood up, his eyes burning with fury. "You coward," he whispered loud enough for the bailiff to turn and look. "You ruined your brother's life. You did this." I didn't even look at him. I walked past them as if they were made of glass, sat down at the table next to Rachel, and waited. The judge, a sharp-faced woman named Clara Henderson, entered the room and called the session to order. Julian and Vanessa appeared on the large flat-screen monitor mounted on the wall. Julian looked pathetic. His expensive hair was messy. He was wearing a bright orange jumpsuit, and the arrogant smirk was completely gone from his face. Vanessa looked pale, her makeup smeared, staring at her lap as if she could disappear into the floor. The state attorney, a young man named Miller, rose and laid out the facts with devastating precision. He didn't use flowery language. He didn't need to. He simply presented the timeline. On Friday at 4:30 p.m., the defendants knowingly placed their 9-year-old twins in a rideshare vehicle and sent them to an address where they had been repeatedly warned the owner did not live, Miller said. They did this while boarding a flight to a luxury resort. They left the children in a freezing storm with no food, no proper clothing, and no adult supervision. The home was owned by a third party, Mr. Garrick Sterling, who has no relation to the family. If not for Mr. Sterling's quick action, the children could have suffered severe physical harm. Julian's public defender rose to speak, trying to paint the incident as a tragic communication breakdown. Your Honor, my clients believed Mr. Marcus Vance was still residing at the property, the attorney argued. There was a family misunderstanding. My client believed his brother was simply being difficult, but would ultimately care for his niece and nephew. This is a private family matter that has been blown out of proportion. Judge Henderson looked over her glasses at the defense attorney. A family misunderstanding? She asked, her voice dry. I have read the text messages provided by the state. Mr. Marcus Vance explicitly stated, "Do not send your children to my address. I no longer live there. I am leaving for London." How is that a misunderstanding, counselor? Does your client not understand the English language? The defense attorney stammered, trying to pivot to the parents' request for custody. Regardless of the charges against the parents, Your Honor, the grandparents, Arthur and Evelyn Vance, are present and prepared to take immediate custody of Toby and Chloe. They have a stable, comfortable home. They have owned their residence for 30 years. They have the financial means and the love necessary to provide a safe harbor for these children while this legal matter is resolved. My father stood up in the gallery, putting on his best, respectable elder routine. That is correct, Your Honor, he said, his voice deep and dramatic. My wife and I have raised 2 children. We have a 5-bedroom home with a large yard. We have substantial savings. We can take the children today. We will make sure they are safe and loved. My son Marcus is a cold man who has turned his back on his own blood, but we are ready to step in. The judge looked at him, then looked at Rachel. Ms. Cole, the judge said, I understand your client, Marcus Vance, has filed an objection to this kinship petition. On what grounds? Rachel rose slowly, smoothing her jacket. Your Honor, my client objects to the grandparents' petition because it is built entirely on financial fraud and perjury, Rachel said calmly. The courtroom went completely silent. My mother stopped crying. My father's face went from pale to a deep, dangerous crimson. Explain, Judge Henderson said. Mr. Arthur Vance just testified under oath that he and his wife own their home outright and possess the financial stability to care for these children, Rachel said, pulling a set of certified documents from her folder. The truth, Your Honor, is that my parents do not own their home. They have not owned it for 18 months. My father took a step forward. That is a lie, he shouted. I bought that house in 1994. You have no right. Sit down, sir, or you will be removed by the bailiff, Judge Henderson warned, her voice cutting through his outburst like a razor. Rachel continued, her voice steady and clear. 2 years ago, Mr. Arthur Vance drained his entire retirement account and took out a massive second mortgage to cover his son Julian's gambling debts and a series of fraudulent business loans. The bank initiated foreclosure proceedings on their home 18 months ago. My client, Marcus Vance, quietly purchased the property through a private holding company to prevent his parents from being thrown onto the street. He paid off the back taxes, cleared the foreclosure, and has allowed them to live there rent-free under a formal lease agreement managed by a third-party property management firm. She handed the certified deed of sale and the lease agreement to the court clerk. My parents are tenants at will, Your Honor, Rachel said. Furthermore, the lease agreement explicitly states that any illegal activity, harassment, or attempt to coerce the owner will result in immediate termination of the tenancy. My client is currently preparing to serve them with an eviction notice due to their repeated attempts to force him to commit perjury. My mother let out a sharp, choked shriek. You bought our house? She whispered, staring at me with a mixture of horror and betrayal. You own us? I didn't want to own you, I said, speaking for the first time. I wanted to keep you from being homeless, but you couldn't even manage to treat me with basic respect while I was saving your lives. My father looked like he was having a stroke. He gripped the wooden bench in front of him, his knuckles turning white. You systematic snake, he hissed. You planned this. You bought our house to use as leverage. I bought your house because I loved you, I said, looking him dead in the eye. But you proved that your love only extends to the son who ruins you, not the son who saves you. The judge reviewed the documents for several long, excruciating minutes. The only sound in the room was the soft hum of the video monitor where Julian was staring at his hands, realizing his last safety net had just evaporated. There is more, Your Honor, Rachel said, submitting a digital audio file. On Saturday morning at 2:15 a.m., Mr. Arthur Vance left a voicemail on my client's phone. We have had the audio verified. The judge nodded to the clerk, who pressed play on the courtroom computer. My father's voice filled the room, stripped of all its dignity, raw with anger and desperation. Marcus, you listen to me. You are going to call the police and tell them you made a mistake. Tell them you agreed to watch the kids but forgot your flight was on Friday. You are single. You don't have a family. A little embarrassment won't hurt your career. Julian has everything to lose. If you don't do this, I will make sure everyone in this town knows you let your own family rot in jail. You owe us your life, Marcus. Do what you are told for once. The recording stopped. Judge Henderson leaned forward, her eyes fixed on my father. Mr. Vance, she said, her voice dripping with ice. You stood before me today and swore under oath that you were a stable, law-abiding citizen capable of providing a moral, safe environment for these children. Yet I have just heard evidence of financial misrepresentation, attempted witness intimidation, and a shocking disregard for the truth. Your Honor, please, my mother sobbed. Silence, the judge snapped. The grandparents' petition for kinship custody is denied with prejudice. Toby and Chloe Vance will remain in the temporary custody of the state. I am also referring this matter to the district attorney's office to investigate potential perjury and witness coercion charges against Mr. Arthur Vance. My father sank back into his seat, his head in his hands. Julian's face on the monitor was a mask of pure terror. He knew that without our parents, without me, his children were gone and his freedom was about to follow. We are not finished, Your Honor, Rachel said. We have a secondary petition. We are requesting that temporary kinship custody be granted to the children's maternal cousin, Jenna Vance Miller of Rhode Island. The judge looked at the petition. Jenna Vance Miller is a licensed child therapist, Rachel explained. She has a stable home, a background in pediatric trauma, and has had no contact with Julian or Arthur Vance for 5 years due to her refusal to participate in their financial schemes. She has been vetted by the Rhode Island Department of Children and Families, and she is prepared to take Toby and Chloe immediately. The state attorney Miller stood up. The state supports this petition, Your Honor, he said. We have already inspected Ms. Vance Miller's home and believe she represents the safest, most stable environment for the twins. The judge nodded, her pen moving quickly across the paperwork. Petition granted, Judge Henderson said, slamming her gavel down. Temporary custody is awarded to Jenna Vance Miller. This court is adjourned. The moment the gavel hit the block, the courtroom erupted. My mother flew across the aisle, her fingernails clawing at the air toward my face. You monster! She screamed. You destroyed us. You took my grandchildren. You took our home. 2 court officers intercepted her, pinning her arms behind her back. Ma'am, step back, one officer shouted. My father didn't move. He sat on the bench, staring at the floor, looking like an old man who had finally realized that the currency he had spent his entire life trading in, guilt and lies, was completely worthless. I stood up, fastened the button of my suit jacket, and looked at my brother on the screen one last time. He was crying now, real tears of self-pity, shouting my name through the speaker. Marcus, please, talk to them. Don't let them keep me in here. I didn't answer. I turned my back on him, walked down the center aisle of the courtroom, and stepped out into the clean, cold afternoon air. The legal fallout was swift and merciless. 2 days later, my property manager served my parents with a formal 30-day notice to quit. They had violated the terms of their lease by using the property to commit a crime, specifically using the address to attempt witness coercion and harboring a criminal conspiracy to defraud the courts. My father tried to fight it. He hired a cheap lawyer who took one look at the lease agreement, the deed, and the court transcript and told him to start packing. They moved into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in a rundown suburb. My mother's prestigious social circle vanished overnight. The women she had spent decades trying to impress with stories of Julian's wealth and my corporate success stopped answering her calls. Julian's criminal trial took place 3 months later. The evidence was overwhelming. The state attorney refused to offer a plea bargain that didn't involve active prison time. The combination of the text messages, the rideshare driver's testimony, and the security footage from Garrick Sterling's gate made a defense impossible. Julian was sentenced to 2 years in state prison for child abandonment and reckless endangerment. His financial licenses were permanently revoked. Vanessa, who cooperated with the prosecution and testified against Julian to save herself, received a suspended sentence with 5 years of probation and mandatory parenting classes. She filed for divorce within 30 days of his sentencing. The man who had spent his entire life telling me that I would always open the door was now locked behind a door he couldn't open for 24 hours a day. On a quiet Saturday morning, 6 months after the court hearing, I drove down to Rhode Island to visit Jenna's house. The house was a modest Cape Cod-style home with a blue front door and a large yard surrounded by a white picket fence. Sleet didn't fall here today. The spring sun was warm, and the cherry blossom trees in the front yard were in full bloom. As I pulled up to the curb, I saw Toby and Chloe in the yard. They were tossing a red frisbee back and forth with Jenna's golden retriever. Toby looked taller. His shoulders were no longer hunched, and his face had a healthy, sun-kissed color. Chloe's hair was tied back in a neat ponytail, and her laughter carried across the grass, a loud, unburdened sound I had never heard from her before. When they saw my car, they stopped. For a second, I felt a familiar, cold fear in my chest. I feared they would look at me and see the storm, the courtrooms, and the collapse of their parents. But then Toby smiled, dropped the frisbee, and ran toward the gate. "Uncle Marcus!" he shouted. Chloe followed him, her sneakers pounding against the gravel driveway. I got out of the car, and before I could even close the door, both of them threw their arms around my waist. I held them tight, smelling the fresh grass and the clean spring air on their clothes. "Look what I made," Toby said, pulling me toward a wooden workbench under a large oak tree. He showed me a birdhouse he had built. It was slightly crooked. The green paint was uneven, but the joints were tight, and he had sanded the edges smooth. "Jenna helped me with the saw, but I did the hammering myself," he said proudly. "She said if you measure twice, you only have to cut once." "That is the best advice anyone can give you, Toby," I said, my voice thick with emotion. Jenna came out of the back door, carrying a tray with 3 glasses of lemonade. She looked at me and offered a warm, tired smile. "They've been waiting for you all morning," she said. Later, while the kids were playing with the dog in the backyard, Jenna and I sat on the porch. "The trust fund cleared," she said, taking a sip of her drink. "The monthly payments cover their therapy, their private tutoring, and Chloe's violin lessons. We even have enough set aside for Toby's summer camp." "Is it enough?" I asked. "If you need more, I can adjust the allocation." "Marcus, it is more than enough," she said, reaching over to squeeze my hand. "You are funding their entire future. You saved them." "I didn't save them," I said, looking out at the yard. "I just built the wall so the people who hurt them couldn't reach them anymore." "That is what saving someone looks like," she said quietly. Before I left that afternoon, Chloe handed me a small folded piece of paper. "Don't open it until you get home," she whispered, her eyes bright. I kept my promise. I drove back to Boston in silence, the city skyline rising before me in the dusk. I parked my car in the secure garage, took the elevator up to my loft, and walked out onto the balcony. The city was quiet. The wind off the harbor was cool but gentle. I took the folded paper from my pocket and opened it. It was a drawing of a house. It wasn't my old house, or my parents' house, or the apartment where Julian was serving his sentence. It was a house with a blue door, a green yard, and a large oak tree. At the bottom, in Chloe's neat, childlike print, she had written, "To Uncle Marcus, thank you for making sure we have a safe place to sleep." I stood there for a long time, looking at the drawing, feeling the weight of the last 34 years finally slide off my shoulders. My family had spent my entire life trying to convince me that my worth was measured by how much of their abuse I could tolerate. They wanted me to believe that love was a transaction where I paid the bill and they broke the merchandise. They were wrong. The best revenge is not a loud argument, a dramatic confrontation, or a bitter fight. The best revenge is a life built on your own terms. It is the cold, hard reality of your success. It is the quiet documentation of the truth, the refusal to carry burdens that do not belong to you, and the strength to let the people who built the fire burn in their own flames. My brother sent his children to my old address because he believed my boundaries were a bluff. He believed I would always open the door. He was wrong. The door was gone. The old Marcus was gone, and the man standing in his place had finally built a home that no one could destroy. We want to thank every single person who stayed with us until the very end of this journey. The story you have read is a fictional narrative designed to illustrate a powerful truth, that sometimes the most painful boundaries we draw are the very things that save the people we love. We hope this story serves as a reminder that your peace is worth protecting. Your life is not a deposit box for other people's failures, and sometimes the only way to heal a family is to build a wall they can never climb. Keep your truth, keep your evidence, and never be afraid to let the consequences land exactly where they belong.